Hello out there.
Hi, everyone. We're here together as women, as sisters, and we want to discuss why we think Earth is not a globe and a spinning ball.
I'm JL Forbes.
Marmar Queen.
I'm Jen.
And I'm Jennifer too.
Yes, two awesome Jennifers. It's so nice to be with women that understand this, and we can discuss among ourselves as women and as sisters, and to sit in question that why is it that we think Earth is flat?
Yes, and Jen's
fine.
Is kind of newer to this reality. So we want to just talk openly about some questions she has and maybe some arguments.
Well, I first came upon this opportunity, I'll call it, introduced by Mar, and it didn't really seem that difficult of a thing to conceive. Some alternative Earth plane. From a very young age, I realized that something was askew. I couldn't ever put my finger on it, and this just seemed right and simple and real, and just made simple sense to me. And then I watched the 200 proofs after already believing that we live on a plane. I don't have any reservations about that at all, and so I'm continuing to look at a lot of information and questioning constantly my surroundings, my life, and all that we've been inundated with since we were born and made to believe that this is our life and this is the way it's supposed to be, the rules, the laws that we're taught by our schools, our religion, our parents, grandparents, just systematically brainwashed. And it's just all making more sense to me now, and it feels right and real, and some of the simplest questions I have been answered by those that aren't astrophysicists or astronomers or professors. It's just very simple.
Like the Occam's razor principle.
Yeah. I could just look, see with my own eyes, feel with my fingertips, my feet, my just very being that what is real,
So you had no cognitive dissonance?
No.
Yeah, that's good.
So Jennifer and I have been talking in our videos more about the spiritual aspect or emotional aspect of what has been happening to us since we have learned about Earth not being a globe, and we have not talked that much about facts. So we just wanted to go over some of the facts, like thank you for coming today and sitting with us. What is the first thing that makes you feel that you don't live on a globe?
The first thing would have to be probably my questioning our waters. That if our world that we occupy is a globe, why then when we travel on the water, or we continue to travel on the water by ship, why when it continues to go south, wouldn't it be upside down? And if the so-called gravity is pulling with such a strength, wouldn't it just pull the ship, this watercraft, down into the depths of the sea, as it would maybe marine life? Why is marine life able to survive in our waters without being pulled in by this great gravity force? It just doesn't make any sense. It has this great strength to pull the waters to the Earth's crust, but yet it's not strong enough to pull the sea life down to the Earth's crust.
And also what we were discussing before, so if the gravity is that hard that it can pull the water down, how come some of the molecules of water can evaporate and go up within the same gravity? And if there is atmospheric pressure that is keeping all the waters around this globe hard to the center of the globe, how could this very soft evaporation could happen in the same place, and atmospheric pressure is not pushing that gas molecules down now. And the same way that how are we existing within the same humongous atmospheric
Where
pressure?
we like flat to the ground,
right.
And, like, I can't talk to you.
That too, and then air bubbles. Why are air bubbles? You know, the air bubbles that come from sea creatures, from marine life, able to escape, you know, above the waters, but yet its gravity is not strong enough to hold an air bubble down beneath its surfaces. It just doesn't make sense.
Yeah, it's an oxymoron. It can't do both.
Right. You can't.
So it holds the planets away and pulls other things down. And
Right.
I know it has to do with the mass, but yeah.
Well, the whole concept of gravity, they say that it applies force down towards the gravitational center, depending on the weight of everything. Like if I'm lighter, gravity is less on me. And on a bubble, it's less than that. I mean, altogether, it doesn't make any sense that how the water is still curving around. And as we saw in this ad that we were looking at, if it is how much the percentage of water on the earth?
71%.
71%. So it's 29% land. If we don't find any curvature on any of the waters and all the waters are flat, so what is curving?
There we go. Yeah, I feel like gravity, getting back to gravity real quick, is like divinely intelligent. That it behaves in different ways. It doesn't make sense.
So therefore, I even question gravity. This whole
Questioning
theory
gravity.
of gravity. Yeah.
And it is a theory. It has never been proven. Just because something falls on the ground, how could it be a law when it could be density?
And I love when people say, basically ridicule you for questioning gravity. But I think it's idiotic that we don't question what we're taught.
And actually, in school, we were encouraged to believe that no question is a dumb question.
Well, they say that.
Yeah, exactly. But then here we are. Why aren't we feeling free to question these things and without someone trying to make us feel less than? You know, I think it's just fear running these people. It can shake someone's world.
Yeah, or if we can't do big mathematical equations on a chalkboard, and this is how I always felt, then I'm not smart enough. So I just leave that to the authority because they know better than me. And that's the stance we usually have as, you know, people who don't go to astrophysiology classes. We just like leave it to the smart people.
Right.
So.
Yes, and then the teachers will teach you, and like that picture that we saw, the sheep is looking at the screen of the media, and it shows a globe there. So we just accept it. That's all the reasoning we need.
Right.
And we have no other proof.
Yeah, I just have a difficult time believing that we're born here. We didn't ask to be here. We're given this number, as you state in your book, and it just really resonated with me. On the seventh day, God took a little nap, and I read something like that in your book, and I was like,
about what?
I know that we're you know, are we really here to born to
stamp just identity,
right?
You get a number, social security number, birth certificate, and a bunch of injections,
right? To work, basically be enslaved, to pay taxes, to die, and once in a while you can get a weekend off. If you're not working 2 or 3 jobs.
That's right.
And I don't believe that we didn't choose to be here. I think we were very conscious before we came as parts of the creation. And we came here for very specific reasons, to be awake and live a God-conscious life, except that we deviated from that consciousness very fast by some powers of greed.
Yes.
And here we are. And then when you look at what we were talking about, Jen, that people kind of know that we really didn't go to the moon.
A lot of people know that.
A lot of people know it, or they have heard things about it, yet that is not connected.
They're not connecting the dots to the Earth.
Yeah. So what does that have to do with Earth not being a globe? There's a lot with that, because that's the only picture we have that was taken on the moon.
Right. We have more pictures now, but originally there was no picture of the Earth, and they were already teaching the Copernicus theory that we were living on a globe 500 years ago, and they didn't even have a picture until the 60s. So they had to prove we lived on a globe.
But even the new pictures that have come out, they're all CGIs. Because it can't be anything else. There are no satellites out there. And there is no ISS, according to what we are finding. Because nothing could be out there. Can we talk about that? Why couldn't anything be out there, really?
First of all, it would bump into each other. And if there's 2,500 satellites, like I think they said that there's like 2,000 and something satellites. Right?
No, 25,000.
Oh, 1,000. Well,
right. Yeah. And wouldn't some of these be taken out by meteors and any other
objects
that are flying? The rocket have to like calculate where it's gonna go through. And, yeah.
I mean, if we could set our missiles to pinpoint another country, a specific area in another country. I mean, why can't we have more photographs that truly depict what they claim is true? I don't know.
And also, we have to have a medium for movement. Humanity has not shown yet to us, I mean, all this advanced physics and everything, we have not been shown that in an atmosphere that there is nothing in it, meaning being the vacuum after the atmosphere. How could anything move in there?
So the vacuum, yeah, that's a big question.
How could anything move in there? I mean, in the water, you go against the water if you're a ship. If in the air, you go against the air.
Propulsion,
yes. And then also, if you have an engine that has to work on combustion, it uses the oxygen to go forward. How does any machine can move in a vacuum and be directed? As you said, directed completely to go to the moon or go to Venus or wherever. It just doesn't make any sense at all. It's all made up.
Yeah, and how does it hold so much fuel? You know, in that little, if you're going hundreds of thousands of miles out, the fuel, where's that?
Oh, yes.
It's burning up pretty fast and a lot, so.
And one more thing, all the cell phone connections also, because they're sounds, they have to have a medium to travel. How someone that is in Venus or is on moon can even talk to the Earth through the vacuum?
Oh, yeah.
What is connecting
I never thought about that.
Yeah, what's connecting? Where is the electromagnetic fields?
Yeah, there's something I read or watched about the strongest walkie-talkies in the world could never work on a round Earth, or I shouldn't say round, a spherical Earth. Because it wouldn't, the waves wouldn't go around.
Exactly, because all of the sound and electromagnetic fields, they always go in linear, straight lines. They cannot bend by themselves.
Oh, that's something I hadn't thought about. That makes sense.
So how are we talking to the other side of the world if it's a sphere? Especially to people who are hanging down the other way.
That's the thing that gets me too. Is it's in the 1950s? Orson Welles. There was this film, or what was the name
1984.
of that? Was it 1984?
Yeah.
And everyone was duped into believing that it was the end of the world. And
that's not the movie.
No, it was another film. But everybody believed, because they heard this on the radio, that the world is ending.
Oh, I know what you're talking about. The aliens coming.
Yes.
As in the 50s.
Yes. And we didn't even have, I don't think there was television or that was televised. It was all by radio. Yeah. And people merely heard this and believed it. How much more difficult would it to be to believe that something this massive is, that we're being duped?
People are dumb, really. People in the world as a whole, not individually, but as a whole, we're very gullible.
Well, that just shows that we're very programmable. How do you say it? We're being programmed.
Yes.
We're just like computers that have been programmed, and we don't question the programmer.
No, we don't.
Right. Rather than believing that we are programmed by the intelligent universe to do good on this earth, we get deviated into doing really messed up stuff and believing in authority for some reason. We have learned to give up our powers away.
It's exactly right. It's about giving our power away and not trusting ourselves, not trusting our intuition, but just being indoctrinated constantly until we've completely lost ourselves and we don't even know the spiritualness of ourselves. And how many people do you know that are living their full potential? Most people in the world live mediocre lives because that's what we were trained to do. We're slaves. I mean, it's just how slaves are. Slaves don't like follow their dreams.
Yeah, it's almost like most people, their spirit has been broken and they just accept what is and then become complacent and lazy. And, they're just not going to question it anymore. They just accept it. And, this is the way it is. And now I just grow old and die. And
that happens for all of us.
Right.
I mean, it's us.
Yes.
It's us. We're creating this together. Like what we were talking about. The fish asked the fish, how is the water? And the fish said, what water? We don't know where we are. Or what we were talking about on our videos about the gelatinous.
I love that.
Yeah, this gelatinous matter that we are moving in and we have no idea, and that's the gelatin or the jelly or the goo.
It's the denseness instead of the flow of life.
Yes. It's holding us in this mass hypnosis and we don't know it. That's why when they say, look, the earth is a ball, we just accept it. And even our eyes will see a ball. I mean, that's the power of the mind.
I used to see a curve. I used to think the horizon was a curve until I learned about this reality. And then I looked at my pictures and took a piece of paper and put it, I have 1 million beach pictures, and put it to the horizon, and it's perfectly level. So yes, we do we do fall into a brainwashing.
So let's talk about that. The horizon being level, right? So they say the ship goes behind the curve. That's why we don't see it. But what we were talking about was that, okay, let's say the ship goes behind the curve. But what happens to this horizon? That if you're looking at it from 60 miles away, that horizon, sometimes you can see 120 miles and that goes straight this way.
Yeah.
How come this way none of the buildings are standing this way? How come this way the ship is not going this way and somehow we can see it? We don't question that part of it. We just say, okay, it goes behind the curve or beyond the curve, the curve of the water that can never stay as a curve.
And the other thing is they say we're on such a big, huge globe that you can't see the curve, yet people are using the argument about the ship and the horizon, which has been proven wrong. You just take some binoculars and the ship comes back. So
that was
the argument.
That was a discussion that I had with the pilot because he said, look, the only reason you don't see the curvature because Earth is very, very big. And it's like, okay, we can either hold the argument that Earth is really, really big.
And they're lying.
Yes, and they're lying. Or we have to accept what they say the circumference is. 25,000 miles of circumference is not infinite.
Right.
It's measurable.
And if it's a curve, it is always curving. There's at no point is there not a fraction of a curve. And if it's curving, that means water's going both up and down.
Yes.
It's flowing back. Even though we're watching it flow, in reality, if you look at it, it doesn't make sense because the water can't go up and down at the same time. And if you're on a ball, you're always on the highest point of the ball, no matter where you are. So the water would be both going up and down.
And the rivers of the world would not go in one direction. Yeah, if the belly of the earth is bigger, I mean from the bottom of the earth, how could they go up?
Right.
Because there is a North Pole according to the globe model, the North Pole and the South Pole, they're magnetic. That's why all the magnets go towards the north. Mm-hmm. So if there is a magnetic something there, how are these rivers going against it? It just doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, people just accept that it's an optical illusion and that we can't understand it in our brains, but that's what we've been lied to about. It's not as, everything is proven way more simple than we've been taught. I mean, common sense wise, living on a globe is not reality. Some people would be upside down. I mean, it just doesn't.
I know, the buildings, the people, I mean, you keep going and going, and eventually it's got to be upside down at some point, some part of the sphere.
Well, they say it's so big, and because the pressure is the same, and wherever you're standing is your point of the universe, you never feel that you're upside down. But if actually there was a ball, there is a down and there's an up.
Right.
But they say in space there is no down and up. It's all equal.
Then there would be no north or south. I mean, that's what's just coming to me right now.
Exactly. Then there shouldn't be any north or south. Yeah. If that's the case, everything should be equal distance or omnipotent, which it is in some ways. But it makes a lot more sense if Earth is actually a plane and the center of it is magnetic. And everything goes from the center to the peripheries, and it's all on the level land. And we're all brothers and sisters, and we're all on this beautiful, amazing place together, rather than upside down and trying to make sense of that as reality and being so stupid that we take it as reality and we would never question it.
Well, it's just because the globe's flashed in our faces so often. Have you guys been paying attention to the globe being flashed in your face? Every ride practically in Disneyland, I've seen it. It's on every movie I've been paying attention. Most shows have it. It's
also
commercials, advertisements for certain celebrations. Recently, Women's Day. And I'm like, oops. Oh yeah, global.
And also all the spiritual stuff also. You know, like the movie you were showing me, Unity. It starts with a globe. So I'm constantly questioning all the people who are teaching about spiritualism and it's these other forces that are helping us on Earth.
On planets. From different planets, you mean?
Either, it's a spiritual thing that the other people helping from other planets, or this multi-dimensional beingness exists, and they talk as if like they know this multi-dimensional beingnesses, yet the same people don't know anything about Earth not being a globe, and that kind of makes me question their degree of awareness or spirituality, or if they're even open to hear such a thing, because I see the same in many people. If you're very spiritual, you're totally like a no to this one. If you're political, you're a no to this one. It's because this is maybe the only thing that could tear up this gel.
That's what cracks me up about a lot of these groups that you're talking about. I'm like, and many of them claim to be so open-minded, and it just kills me that if you're so open-minded, why aren't you opening your mind to this possibility? It just baffles me.
They're identified with their knowledge and with living on a globe. I mean, I was too, you know. But I have this theory about that. You know, there's a lot of spiritual teachers that I even know who are like spiritual coaches, and they say they go out of body and they see the globe or whatever.
Yeah.
And I wonder if it's so deep in our psyche that you will create that reality when you leave, because it's like something that's so ingrained. Because the two spiritual leaders that I actually talked about this with, actually 3 of them were really open to it not being a globe. So maybe it's just when you have something brainwashed in you, and even leaving out of body, you see the same thing, you know? Does that make sense? I don't know if I'm explaining it right.
Yes, or maybe you're just pretending that you're leaving the body. And it's just ungrounded spiritual belief system.
Like it's just images.
Yeah, it's just images. It's
like
just
images.
You
can do a lot with your mind.
Yeah, and you don't know, because when we leave our bodies, the mind is not there anymore. It's the universal mind. So how do we really know? So when people come through and say, like, okay, with this spiritual training, we're connecting to the extraterrestrials, or we're connecting to, other consciousnesses that want to change the world, is it really us? We are the beacons of light that need to change the world. All of us together. We cannot wait for a Messiah to come to tell us what to do. That's in that
or
period.
To save us.
Or to save us.
Yeah, that's going to save us.
I know. I look at that whole Katrina situation, and I'm thinking, oh my gosh, are people just like that, waiting to be saved, waiting for someone, something to come and rescue them? And I'm like, no, we've got to take action ourselves. I'll be darned if I just sit there and expect somebody to come save me, or I've got to learn survival skills. I need to learn how to live off the land. I need to be really self-sufficient.
And responsible.
Do I really want out of the system? Or do I really want to be a free thinker? Then I need to be more self-sufficient. And that means growing my own food, learning how to produce clean water from dirty water, making it safe to drink, and so much more. And we've just handed so much over and become so dependent. And people don't even realize healthcare reform is in your hands. Eat healthier, drink clean water, get off the meds, just exercise, be in nature.
And that's another plan of the system. You take more meds so you stay conditioned and you stay in the mass hypnosis. It is a mass hypnosis.
Keep them fat, sick, and nearly dead. Just enough on the tube just to keep them going and keep the money generating, to the top few elitists that run all of this.
I know people have it in their minds that suffering is a rite of passage or something, and it is not a rite of passage. I've suffered a lot of years and realized I need to wake up and take responsibility. And why would anyone come save me if I'm not saving myself?
Right.
It's like, it's the same scenario of that. What is that? It's not a joke, but where someone was in the ocean drowning and praying to be saved. And a boat came, and they said, "No, God's going to save me."
Right.
They said, "God's going to save me." And it's like, you got to.
God, why are you saving me? I sent you a boat. I sent you a plane. I sent you whatever. Right. Yeah.
And at the same time, it could go on the other side of the scale, meaning that the self-care becomes so much that it's all about me. Self-centeredness and self-indulgence, and that's what we see in the New Age movement all over the world. We just heard about this festival that is happening in Costa Rica, Envision, and they're just taking all the water from all the cities around to fuel up this festival. And what is the festival about? Me, the goddess, and whatever. We need to come out of that mass hypnosis and really care about one another. We are all in it together. Yeah.
We need a balance. It can't go from patriarchal to complete divine feminine. It's
right.
Come into harmony together where we're balanced.
Divine feminine and divine masculine. That's what we're missing on Earth also.
It's
divine
a complement.
Masculine.
It doesn't have to be. They don't have to be rivals and enemies. They are a complement to one another. There's just such a war between them both, and it doesn't have to be.
Yeah, divide and conquer. That's the way our world is. So what other questions?
So most of this science that we have been brainwashed with has been a man-made sciences and mostly made in the patriarchal times. So we as women now are questioning all of this. And one thing that I wanted to talk about was what really has sold me.
Okay.
And that is the water in any container takes the shape of the container. Now, if that container is immovable, the water just stays immovable. But if you take that container and shake it even a little bit, the water would never stay comfortable. Yet we see lakes that are multiple miles per square feet. I mean, the square miles. And they go forever, but the water is so completely quiet in them. so completely quiet. A pebble could go far away. You can feel the motion of the fish and everything. How is that possible on a moving plane?
Exactly.
And they say, look, it's inertia, because when it goes to a constant motion of the same motion, you would not feel it. And that's another hoax. How could you not feel movement?
Well, this is the one that really bugs me.
Yeah.
If we're in a bubble and the Earth is a globe and the atmosphere is moving with the Earth, how could a bug go backwards? Like, if the Earth's moving this way,
fly opposite,
and so is the atmosphere, how does a bug or an airplane not have to make up for the spinach? You know what I mean?
Yes.
I don't. My brain cannot understand that, and people try to explain it, but I don't.
That's the part I don't understand yet. Also, because they say the atmosphere moves, so you shouldn't feel any of that inertia. Yet again, going back to any gaseous form or any fluid form, if you put a movement into it, that movement is going to cause some type of turbulence, whether it's a medium of gas or whether it's the medium of water. So that's why we have no scientific experimentation. I mean, all this very advanced physics, where is that experimentation that shows us that this is this container, this is the water, and we're applying so much pressure on top of the water, like atmospheric pressure on top of the water, that when you move this container, the water would not move at all. Do we have an experimentation like that? Nowhere. Because it's impossible for that water not to move and go into heavy-duty turbulences and tsunamis. Let alone, if there was an atmospheric pressure that can actually do that, it would crush us to flat people. There would be absolutely no people and no life.
Well, it's just this. It's the simplest things that tell you the truth.
Yes.
Water alone, it sold me.
Yes.
It sold me. I'm
Water
like,
alone sold me too.
How does it been? Like, from California to Hawaii, it'd be like, you know,
right.
It doesn't do that.
They said what? Yeah. If we go with the circumference of the Earth, the arc between California and Hawaii, I think Jeranism said that, it would be 750 miles up.
Yeah. And it'd be going both ways, right?
And it would be going both ways. But how come we cannot measure that or take a picture of that anywhere?
Exactly. There's no pictures of that. So
it's not curved. That's it. That's our conclusion.
No. Nobody has proven a curve under this entire argument. I've seen people do these like really intense diagrams of like lines and measurements and stuff, but he'll show that there is a curve based on the triangle is bigger, like if it's 180 degrees on a curved Earth, it's actually bigger because they have to make up for the curve, but it's all mathematics. It's not like you can't show that in reality,
and you know what,
can't show it with a picture or with
And I worked for a land surveyor. I helped him survey land. I took a few courses in topography, drafting, architecture, and
so eclectic.
we never took into account any curves.
Any curvature.
Not at all. Now that I'm looking back, never.
No, they don't. None of the military instruments do either. There's been guys on radio shows talking about that.
Yes, or training for airplanes, or making any canals as it in 200 proofs shows. No air. I mean, what do you call it? The trains, lines, or anything like that has ever been made with.
Like, we're going to have to alter the tracks for the curve. I mean, I just have never heard such a thing.
Yeah, and it's not like everyone's lying. It's just that people don't think to ask questions. Right. They're not paying attention because everyone's compartmentalized in their little job, and
And I think purposely diverted with media, with movies and other entertainment, and let's keep everyone distracted and unknowing. And
And even, to this degree, at this point, I still feel distracted yet there is nothing else that important for me except this right now in my life. Because this is the biggest turning point. This is the biggest turning point, and it's not going to change and become something else being the biggest turning point. Because this is about our livelihood and our existence on this amazing plane.
So if people just see beyond the subject, immediate subject of the is this plane that we live on really a plane or a globe? See beyond that, that it goes to being controlled,
disempowering.
Yes, it's keeping us in a slave mentality to serve, this so-called like greater government or world order, many names for it.
That was a question that came up. Some people said, we liked everything about your past video about what's going on in the world except the flat earth. Why would they go through such an expense, trillions of dollars of expense every single year to set up programs like this? To what? What's the purpose?
Yeah.
And that's very clear what the purpose is. Who owns the space owns humanity.
It even, yes.
Who? That's it. Who owns this space owns humanity, and also if there is more land that they don't want us to know, this is the best way to keep us in a very, very small ball.
Yeah, and if it's a ball, we can run out of resources.
Totally.
Whereas if it's a plane, an infinite plane, there's infinite resources. There's a scripture that says that he will take it up and move himself in God's temple. I think it was talking about the Antichrist. And God's temple in the Bible is space, is the heavens, is above the earth. And that's exactly what NASA and all the space agencies have done. And not to mention, there has not been one private space agency that's even gotten out of here.
Gotten out of the space. Because they can't.
Well, everything happens. A boat gets in the way of their day, so they can't go. At the last one that was going to go, SpaceX couldn't go because some boat unexpectedly showed up.
Sure.
It's ridiculous. It's always something like that.
But what baffles me is that what kind of powers is it that they could have taken all of our minds hostage? I mean, how is this possible that we are actually living in a delusion like this?
Because we're very vulnerable. And we get put into a system from the day we were born, like I said, with the social security number, and you're just so set up, and everyone's very comfortable, and it's like you're not paying attention to anything because you barely have enough time in the day to do everything you want to do.
And now today, our food's not what it once was. Our water is contaminated. What we consume, our food, the animals, the people still continue to consume, but that path is widening, thank goodness. People are understanding how animal agriculture is just wreaking havoc on this plane and destroying us.
And keeping us in an enslavement mode, because as long as we continue on that way, we have disrespect for ourselves and for life on the plane.
I just realized we're all vegan.
Oh, yes. Yeah, that's right.
I mean, I guess I knew that, but it's interesting.
It just slipped me today, though. But yeah.
Going back to the facts, one more thing. You have a question about moonlight.
Yeah, so everyone uses this argument about the moonlight is cooler than the sunlight.
Yeah.
However, if I'm using the Copernicus model, the sun shines on the moon, so wouldn't it be a little bit cooler anyway?
Because of the distance, you mean?
Well, no, because it's not coming directly from the sun. It's coming from another body, a planetary body. So wouldn't it cool down on a cooler planetary body? When it hits that planetary body, wouldn't that planetary body cool it down anyway? That's my question.
Yeah, if the sun is 95 million miles away, that's a long distance to travel for that sunlight to come. First of all, that's right. You can use that and say, okay, well, by the time it comes to the moon, it already has become a cold light. Yet, light has a frequency.
Okay.
Light always has a frequency. Different spectrums of light have different frequency of their own. I don't think light that has to travel through distance will shift its frequency. According to a lot of data I have learned, the moonlight has its own frequency. It's a cool light.
So even though I'm just saying, if it's bouncing off the moon, that wouldn't cool it down when it comes to the Earth.
Well, you have to see if it changes the frequency of
You know what I'm
it.
saying?
Mm-hmm. Because the moon is putting off a cooler energy. So it would seem then.
Yeah, that all sounds very magical. It only lives in the world of theory very nicely. Yeah, because how could something have a condensation or cooling effect on something? But if I hold a mirror in front of the sun, like right now, if we go out and the sun is shining upon my mirror and I shine it into your face, your face could get burned.
Yeah, I would feel the warmth.
You feel the warmth.
Okay.
It's the same frequency.
That makes sense now. Okay, so like, yeah, it doesn't get any cooler on a cold mirror. It would still be hot. And
Yes.
it's even hotter sometimes.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, even hotter, and that's why if you take what do you call them?
A magnet?
A magnifying glass.
Magnifying glass. If you
Yeah.
take a magnifying glass, you can create
A
fire with
fire.
it. But
Yes.
can you do the same with the moonlight? Never.
No,
Thank you for
that's
explaining that. I was
right.
wondering why people use that argument, and it really bothered
Ah.
me. So that makes a little more sense.
And also, if it's a matter of temperature, or is it a matter of the frequency and the character? Because the moonlight light has been used forever for a specific growth period.
Yeah, for different plants.
Plants
Oh, yes.
grow in the moonlight that they would never do that with the sunlight. It's a two different frequency of lights. It doesn't make any sense at all. And also coming from such a long distance, 95 million miles away. Okay, so if my mirror that I'm holding here is also cold surface. It's cold. Let's freeze it. Let's freeze the mirror, or connect it to some electrical line so it's really cold, right? Still, it will reflect heat to you.
I get it.
I think that's my understanding.
Now I won't be annoyed when people use that argument. No, it makes sense.
Well, at least that's my understanding. Does it make sense to you?
It makes sense to me. Because I used to play with these things as a kid.
You killed spiders with
No. We used to put those little paper poppers, those little, from the toy guns. They used to smash with a hammer or a brick or something. And we used to experiment with magnifying glass and the sun going through it and try to get the little strip to pop.
Did it work?
With the heat.
I've never
I
done
can't
that.
remember if we did or not. And I just don't remember, but
yeah. So that's one thing.
We did start a little fire though. Saw smoke coming up from doing that experiment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The other argument people use, and I've had this on my comments, is so are the planets flat? And how could the Earth be flat if the planets are spherical? Well, first of all, there is no big bodies of water on any planet. There's no life on any planet. Earth is completely different, so why would we compare ourselves to what's in the sky?
Exactly. And if the planets differentiate in their size, shape, color, why couldn't we be a plane? We're just a different animal.
Well, according to the ball model, because I think it's after the ball, and the ball has some significance in men. Well, patriarchal illusion of the universe is all about balls.
Yeah, all their buildings are like, look like penises. So they're very.
Oh yes, in DC you've got the. Oh, for crying out loud! I visited that place.
What is it called? Obelisk. Is that right? Obelisk? I can't remember why I can't say that word.
So if everything is a ball,
the Washington Monument.
Yeah, and now there's worldwide. I mean, the trade center, and everybody's wanting to build taller, longer phallic buildings. And I never thought about that before.
So I mean, that's just philosophically going in that level. Why do okay, even if we see circles or round structures up there, why does that have to be Earth? I mean, it's like, why? Earth is Earth, and they are whatever they are.
Right.
We don't know right now.
And
exactly what they are
around us. Yes, they're for our benefit.
Just like with us, there's similarities, but we have our own characteristics.
That and also that all the constellations have not changed at all for millions or if not millions, thousands of years.
And people try to say they've changed, but somebody did an experiment where they kept their camera on Polaris for over a year and it didn't move at all.
Wow. I'll have to look that one up.
Yeah. It was in the beginning when I was first researching this.
So the other factor that I have been talking to about the curvature of the water, because you're right. I mean, that is the main thing. There's no curvature, so let's go beyond that. It's like if that goes to that there's no curvature. I mean, are we on a different discussion on Earth right from there? Just that alone, and also the light of the sun when it's sitting on the water. Why does it come all the way to our eye level?
Yes.
If there was any curvature on the waters.
Yeah, it doesn't add up.
Well, they say if the sun is 95 million miles away, it does add up because it's so far away that it could actually come all the way on the surface of the water. But they don't. They don't bring it to attention that any ray of light only goes straight. And if you have a curved surface under it, it doesn't matter where that light is coming from, millions of miles away or right from behind here, it still won't go all the way to your eye level if there is a curve.
Right. That goes back to what I was saying in my drafting class. We didn't, we had it depicted just like you're saying. If there was a curve, then we wouldn't be able to see the light the way we are. Like I'm getting
the surface of the lake. The surface of the lake, if it had any degree of curvature on it, because if it is 25,000 miles of circumference, there should be a soft degree of curvature everywhere, right? Let's say a small lake should even have a little bit of a curvature, let alone with many, many, many square miles of a lake, right? So if that's the case, the pictures of the environment that we see on those mirror-like lakes can never be the same.
Distorted.
They would be distorted, like when we look at ourselves into a convex mirror, the convex either makes us fat or tall.
So true.
That never happens on any surfaces of the water that we see the moon looking in the water like a long rod.
Yes. It's exact reflection, the
exact reflection
and everything that's in the sky.
Which means what?
The water's level. And
completely level. Yeah.
Yeah. I think this is a good discussion. We should do this again. And if you have more questions.
And also, whoever that is watching this, please come on and jump in any of these things. And if you want to bring up more points about any of these things or ask questions, we're sitting together learning about this.
Yeah. Thank you for watching.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.